Moving on, I'm going to play a clip here. What am I going to go to first? I'll tell you what we'll go to. This one here.
To compare him to Benjamin Sesko, they're both coming in at the same time, different ages, of course, and different profiles. How was he today?
Yeah, I'm no further forward with him in respect to the jury's out. I think he's well off it compared to the other signings that United have made up front in Cunha and Mbeumo. He looks awkward. He had a couple of really good opportunities in the first half where balls just got played over and his touch wasn't right. And, yeah, I think for £80 million, I mean, you can say he's young, he's got a lot of potential, he's only settling in, but you still want to see a little bit more.
This obviously got a lot of stick, Mark, from Gary. People saying that, like, saying he's been well off it is an exaggeration. You know, Gary's been quite protective of Wirtz and Isak and Gyokeres and all the other either new to the Premier League or big money signings this summer, but feel that he's being really harsh on Sesko. Did it last week when he actually played well when he came on against Brighton. And there's sort of claims that Gary Neville doing this is sort of hurting Man United. It's too much pressure, it's too much negativity, and it's not really needed. What's your views on what he said, first of all?
I mean, the only issue I have with it is that he's 67 million, he's not 80 million pounds. I have seen, to be honest, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and maybe it's a slow week for content, but I have seen some content creators absolutely go in on him. And I'm like, you're the same people who said Amrim out after Grimsby. And they're saying Neville's doing damage to Man United. I'm like, the hypocrisy of these people is hilarious. So a man has opinion on a striker he probably doesn't rate is worse than get this fraud out of my club after Grimsby. And that's sort of like where I jump in and go, you know, I don't agree with Neville's assessment on Sesko, but having listened to it there again for the 5th time, I don't actually see an issue with it. Like, it's an opinion. And we've got to be very, very careful about that, because as two people and a community that love debate and opinion, I don't actually, if you sat there and said that to me and it wasn't Gary Neville, I don't think I could come at you and go, you're a fucking idiot, Terry, what are you talking about? Because there's actually no abuse in there. There's actually nothing other than, I think the jury's out. I don't think he's as, it clearly doesn't probably, he's not sure about Sesko. He's clearly not sure about Sesko. And whether it's Gary Neville or it's Terry or it's me, you're allowed to say that. You know, I do not like Luke Shaw and Casemiro in the Man United side. And some people really do, but you're not going to change my opinion on it. So I actually think some people are blowing it out of proportion because maybe it's a slow week. The Sesko to me is going to be a good signing for Manchester United, but I can't guarantee it. I like the signing. I think he's going to have a period of adaptation. And I think all I would say to Gary is that, okay, I take on board the Sesko comment. I don't actually think it's that relevant because we're not really servicing him yet, and he's going to take a little bit of time. But you are one of the greatest right backs we've ever had at Man United. What do you think about Delot, who was horseshit for the 4th game in a row? I'd rather get his opinion on Delot because he was a great fullback for Man United. So I think that the Sesko thing, I understand why people are getting a bit irritated by it, but when you break it down, he's not actually doing anything other than basically saying, I'm not quite sure about him. He doesn't go, he's a flop. He doesn't say he's fucking shit. He just says, I don't think at the moment I'm not convinced about him, which you can say. You know, sometimes I think we try and castigate opinion. And I do think that Neville's opinion is actually just a fair opinion that he has. We don't have to share it. And I think Sesko will be, you know, look at Gyokeres. We've both defended Gyokeres. I watched that 45 minutes. He was so good. So good. Link up play. The goal was a piece of piss. You'd have scored that. But the link up play, he was sharp. He's had a pre-season more than Sesko. So maybe in 2 games' time, Sesko suddenly looks really sharp. And it's took Gyokeres, 2.5 months to look actually up to speed. So you've got to be patient with these players. But, you know, we know what it's like in the media. You know, we know other content creators who just will make shit up daily just to try and get a bit of, you know, oomph. You know, I'm surprised a certain Chelsea fan actor hasn't said that Sesko's the biggest flop in the Premier League yet. In fact, if he's watching, he's probably just about to go and record it because somebody will take it to that level now, which I don't think Neville did, to be fair.
So, yeah, look, I think you're right. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. Equally, everyone's opinions is up for scrutiny. And my issue with what Gary Neville has done, and I did speak about it yesterday, is I want to sometimes see him. I think sometimes he tries so hard to not come across as being biased that he over exit towards Man United. That's just how it comes across to me sometimes. And I just look at the way he's been towards other signings and the way he's been towards Sesko. Now, absolutely, maybe he doesn't rate Sesko. And I've seen that a lot this weekend. So I had a friend of mine in one of my group chats, and he's like, I've seen all these tweets about we should have kept Rasmus and bought Belieber instead. And I absolutely agree. I agree. We'd be a better team. Sesko's flopping. And then it went on all day. And then one of my mates, Phil, just brought back a comment from him back in like July where he said Sesko's the worst striker around. He'll flop at Man United. And it's like, well, is this why you're pushing the agenda after one bad performance? Because you want to push that you were right in the beginning. So a lot of that goes on as well. And I don't think... I don't feel that Sesko's been a bad signing. I feel that the Grimsby game, he looked well off it. But if De Ligt hadn't thrown his foot out at the end, he would have actually have scored the winner if De Ligt didn't get in his way. But aside from that, I've been really impressed with his hold-up play, bringing others into the game. He scored a couple of goals. The assist for Mbeumo was excellent. The pass was fairly simple, and there was a lot to do for Mbeumo, but the touch and turn, we weren't seeing Rasmus do that for 18 months at the club. And I wasn't.
Chelsea as well, the flick on to get Mbeumo through.
He would have got an assist in that game. I think he would have scored in that game if Casemiro wasn't stupidly sent off. So he didn't play well against Brentford. I think what I was taken aback by with Gary and with a lot of United fans at the weekend was we were on an unbeaten run of 4 games. We played quite well in those 4 games. We had some bad moments against Nottingham Forest, the defending, a couple of players played poorly, and it's just all out war again. And for me, I do find that somewhat damaging to the team. We know this stuff filters into the dressing room. I think they can accept criticism, but I think we're just starting to see a little bit of progress maybe. Can't we just put the handbrake on a little bit without going absolutely mad? And I just don't think Gary Neville's helped that. But as you say, he's entitled to an opinion. I'm not going to say people shouldn't be allowed to say what they want, but I will criticize what they've said. And I just felt it was a little bit over the top. Stretford Post here said there's a point Gary keeps attacking United, letting other clubs off. Criticism is fine, but have a balance. Sesko has been okay, though. He'll come good.
But also, I think we're more critical of things that we actually care about. Like, when I look at Arsenal, I don't care. Like, and they're going to win the league, and they're doing really, really well. And I admire the fact that they've only scored 3 goals in 10 games, and they look brilliant. Liverpool will come good. They're just too good. Man City will come good, and Chelsea have got a very good squad as well. And I think Man United are miles off. And although we've had 4 good results, I still think we're miles off where we need to be. So when people crave a little bit of positivity, I've got to be honest. I was quite critical after the draw because I felt that there was a lot of similar mistakes to what. I mean, it's unforgivable to concede 2 goals in 5 minutes when you're 1-0 up at a difficult place. And at the end of the game, people are going, "Oh, Forest is a hard place to go." Well, it's a fucking hard place to go when you give up you give up 2 goals in 5 minutes because of stupidity. And I think I can't speak for Gary Neville, or I quite like listening to Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes on their podcast because they are quite critical. And I am still very critical of what's going on at United. I'm not going to get convinced by 3 or 4 good results. I won't get convinced by being top 4 at Christmas. I still think that we're a club that has won the FA Cup, has finished second in the league, twice in the last 10 years, has won, an FA Cup, a Carabao Cup twice, a Europa League, and still we finished 15th a few months ago. So I get the toxic positivity people, as I call them. They're entitled to that. And I get the toxic negativity people who don't want to give anything positive. But I just sort of sit in the middle where I'm like, there's still a lot at United I don't like. And it won't take long. It doesn't take much for people to scratch that itch for me. And maybe it's the same. Maybe it's the same with Gary Neville. Maybe he actually doesn't like Amorim. Maybe he doesn't like the way we play. Maybe he doesn't like the signing of Sesko, in which case, those things will come through. And we are entitled to those opinions. And then people are entitled to go, I think he's a bit too negative about Man United. But there might be a reason for it.
But I suppose there's a social media element as well, because the presenter on this said we have to... they were talking about Gyokeres and said we have to compare him to Sesko. But it was only a couple of weeks ago, and this is why I'm not going too harsh on Sesko, where his hold-up play was looking great and his link-up play was great. And there was multiple Arsenal fans saying, I think we signed the wrong player. Yeah. And then Gyokeres puts in an absolutely brilliant performance against Burnley in that first 45 minutes, those Arsenal fans go all quiet. The Arsenal fans who wanted Gyokeres speak up. The United fans who wanted Gyokeres go, we should have got him. And I think sometimes it's a little bit like politics. You know, we see it when there's atrocities that happen. It's depending upon the perpetrator and the victim, different political groups like become louder and more quieter, and then it will go the opposite way, as opposed to the normal human beings in the middle that just call out all the crap. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
like that Ricky Gervais vodka advert that he wanted to put up in the underground about have you packed your stab vests? And then there's a load of these people pontificating, going, this is a disgrace, this is a disgrace. Then we see what happens on Saturday in the UK on a train, and a load of people are going, well, he's not wrong, is he? You know, and then they're like, oh, stop using something like that as justification. And it's like, you know, football's like that as well. It's like, I remember on Friday, there was on the United stand, somebody went, we've dodged the bullet, not getting Gyokeres and getting Sesko. And then 24 hours later, Gyokeres has a brilliant 45 minutes. Sesko doesn't play particularly well against Forest. And suddenly it's like, Arsenal fans, we dodged the bullet, not getting Sesko. And it's like, oh my God. And we live in that world, you know, the TikTok generation. But I am capable of changing my opinion, but I really have never been somebody. And there are content creators who do it. There are people on the TV who do it. There are people in this community who do it. It's exhausting, and it must be exhausting for them. I mean, you know, you must literally, if you're out with your mates for a drink and you're getting around in, you must be like 4 pints of lager. Yeah, I'll have a lager. Actually, I'll have a Guinness. I'll have a cider. No lager, no cider. You know, and that's and in football we do have people who just literally, purposely, some of them change their opinion after every weekend. And I just think there's more credibility in saying, I think Arsenal will win the league this season, and getting laughed at, and then a couple of months later, everyone going, oh, he was right, than going, I think Liverpool are going to win the league. I think Man City are going to win the league. Oh, now I think it's going to be Arsenal. Now, you know, and unfortunately, that's what we get. I think Gyokeres is a good player, and I'm glad that I'm getting proved right on that. But it was difficult a few weeks ago. And I think Sesko the same, Terry. I think we will get a lot of people converting over to him because I think he's got the minerals to be good, but it might take a bit of time.
I agree, and people keep saying to me, "Oh, you're going to change your mind now on Liverpool winning the league?" And I said, "I'm going to wait until the next international break," which I'm still waiting to do, because again, it's a lot of people today are going, "Oh, Arsenal running away," but Liverpool fans saying it. Let's say Arsenal get a player sent off in the opening 10 minutes and lose to Sunderland, and Liverpool go and beat City away. Suddenly, there's 4 points in it, and everyone's minds are going to change again. I think
Arteta out.
Yeah, well, Arteta out would be bad. I mean, they are. I'm telling you now, the Arteta out mob. They are clucking. The lips are dry. They're twitching in the corner because they've not been able to slag their club off for about 6 weeks. They are struggling. I've watched some of their uploads and their shows, and some of them are trying to be really positive about their club. And you can almost, it's weird what social media has done to some people. Where
look at United though. We spoke about last week, didn't we? Like, you know, there's these people who are vocally hammer him out after Brentford and Man City and everything, and now United win. And they've got to come back because they are flip-flops. And they go, it's because he's changed something. Well, he hasn't changed anything, actually. He's not changed anything. The stats are the same as they were against Arsenal. But, you know, I'll let you continue because I've never understood how this Arteta out thing didn't just die a couple of years ago when they went, I got it wrong. I've got the best interests of Arsenal at heart. I got it wrong. He's doing a good job. How you can be Arteta out for finishing second, and how you can still be angling for Arteta out when you're top. But they're still waiting for it.
I think there's multiple layers to it though, and I won't put everybody into the same category, but I think there's a combination of some people have this notion of, it doesn't matter that if it's Arsenal and Arteta or other clubs, and it's, I really need people being right about an opinion is so important to a lot of people online, especially people that want to become content creators or are content creators. They see it as, this is how I get to where I want to be. So it says, well, I'm going to keep kicking the can down the road until I can say that I was right. I've seen it with Cristiano Ronaldo. I remember when he got 38, 39, became predominantly a kind of fox in the box striker. And I remember listening to people on podcasts say, do you remember when I told you that he didn't have much tech and his dribbling wasn't that great and all he really was a goal poacher? Yeah, I remember you saying that 15 years ago. Look at him now, told you. And I remember listening to it thinking, have I just lost I thought I was having a mini stroke. I didn't think my brain was working. You've waited till he was 38 to look at him at 38 to go, I told you he was always like this. What are you going on about? Even like Bruno Fernandes this year, I thought the first 4 or 5 games of this season in midfield, he was looking bad, partly because of the system. Since the centre backs have been stepping up, and the 10s have been dropping in deeper, for me. I'm not saying he's Paul Scholes, but he has performed better. And people don't like that. They're like, I ain't praising it because I said it was crap. I'm like, I would still prefer other players in midfield to him. I'm not going back on it, but I'm not going to sit there and just lie when he's. Like, I thought he individually was quite good against Nottingham Forest. I'm not going to not say that. So you thought it was crap.
Yeah.
I thought he played quite well, but it's one
I
of
thought he
these
played
things
well
where,
against Brighton.
Yeah,
I thought he played well against Brighton or Liverpool. I thought he was shit against Forest, to be fair, but yeah.
Okay, but again, but the opinions are there. But the thing for me is, I was criticising him earlier on in the season. When I think he has a good game, I'm just going to say it. I don't sit there and go, "Oh, I can't say he's had a good game."
Yeah, people can't do that.
I said it wasn't working. I don't understand people whose brains work like that. But yeah, it's on Ricky Gervais. He has put another one out. He says, "Do you reckon they'll accept this one?" Another one of those posters, and it's him on the billboard, the drink, and it's "Don't jump, you'll make everyone late for work, you selfish prick." He says, "Do you think they'll accept that one?" I doubt it, Ricky. I doubt they will. That's probably offended a lot of people, to be fair, but it is a joke. But there we go.